and talk about the art of yielding. So, it's a fairly new concept to me in my yogic realms. It's not something I was originally taught about years ago, but I think it's a really important aspect of how we learn to surrender in our bodies and how we learn to be stable. So, we're always looking for this balance of stability and ease. And yielding, I think, is a really beautiful aspect of trying to cultivate this. And I've talked lots and lots about it over the course of time. But I wanted to read a poem to you today that is by Rilke. I think many of you know his work. This is the Book of Hours, Book 2, poem 16. How surely gravity's law, strong as an ocean current, takes hold of even the strongest thing and pulls it toward the heart of the world. Each thing, each stone, blossom, place. Only we, in our ignorance, push out beyond what we belong to for some empty freedom. If we surrendered to Earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees. Instead, we entangle ourselves in knots of our own making and struggle, lonely and confused. So, like children, we begin again to learn from the things because they are in God's heart. They have never left him. This is what the things can teach us: to fall, patiently to trust our heaviness. Even a bird has to do that before he can fly. So let's go ahead and close your eyes and settle into your seat. And notice the ways in which you have a relationship with gravity. I think gravity gets a bad rap. We try to fight against gravity. And what would it feel like instead to feel held, to feel that gravity is one of our main support systems? Our whole being is developed around gravity, within gravity. You take an astronaut and put them in outer space, and they lose bone density because of the lack of gravity. So can you feel the infusing of our weightedness? The sense that you do belong to the earth. And if you are able to feel and ground into that weight, the yield comes when we allow ourselves to both go into the earth and then the rebound that comes from it, the push that comes after the yield. And this is that beautiful balance between the surrender and the expanse. So breathe into this, see if you can feel it, even in your seated posture, however you are, whether you're standing or sitting or lying down. Can you feel that gravity holds you, that you are the earth, you belong to the earth? Grounding. What happens to your breath when you allow yourself to ground? And to assure yourself that yielding is different than collapsing. Can you feel the rebound? Can you feel the yield push? That sense of give to the earth, and the earth gives back through our bones up. You have perfect tonicity to support yourself and be supported. Infuse the breath into this balance. We all know the feeling of not feeling grounded, feeling flighty, disassociated. And we all know the feeling of feeling grounded. So access this whenever you need, when you feel yourself untethered in some way, mind, body, or spirit. Remember you belong to the earth and bring yourself home. Place your hands together at your heart and bow in. Let's release the hands and come onto your back. So breath and yielding go hand in hand. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what poses you're doing. You always have the ability to access your relationship with the earth. So let's lie down and give ourselves totally over. So you can bend your knees or straighten your knees, but allow the big amount of surface area that you have touching the ground right now instead of just your feet. Allow the larger surface area to give you even more capacity to surrender, to let go into the earth. Drop in, shoulders down, breath deep. Let the skull relax on the ground. All right. And then let's reach. Okay, stretch one side, stretch the other side. Feel into the awakening of the body. Wake up some muscles. Maybe squeeze anything you have access to squeeze. And then bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a hug and rock a little bit from side to side. Feel the soothing nature of not just rocking, but knees toward chest. Hopefully this is a comfortable, easy place for your back to be. And then let's circle the knees a few times in one direction. Yielding and breath go together, so keep the breath flowing. Let yourself surrender into the earth while we're still here on our back. Let's enjoy it. If you haven't switched directions, switch directions of your knees. All right, and then let's open the knees away from each other and back in. Just kind of back and forth between midline and away from midline, and feeling the movement of the hip joints. And now this is big for this early, so if you can't hold your feet, if you'd rather just hold behind your knees, do that. Feel the back come into the earth. You can rock a little bit from side to side if you want. And then release and lengthen your legs down onto the ground. Stretch your limbs wide. Wiggle your fingers and toes and wrists and ankles. And then knees into your chest, chin up, give a hug. Couple more times, expand open, stretching navel to your edges. Exhale, drawing back in to the center. One more time, opening things up. Exhale. And then release your feet and your head down onto the ground. Let's enjoy one more moment of feeling all this surface area to the earth. Breathe in and breathe out. Let your body relax into the floor. All right, and then roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. Okay. All right, and let's find just any kind of movement. So, you don't even have to go into cat-cows right away. Maybe you'd want to just feel into the yielding first, where you kind of ground into one side, ground into the other side. Kind of let your left knee and your left hand find the earth and push off, and then let the right feel the earth. If we're going to yield into the earth, you have to bend your joints. So if you have locked out elbows and locked out shoulders, you're just going to, play on the surface. You're going to skim the surface of the earth. You're not going to let gravity really dive you down into yield. So let the elbows and the shoulders receive and bend. All right. And then come to a steadiness, and let's start. Okay, so arching and rounding the spine, taking your time to notice, how is your back today? How are your vertebrae? How are you feeling? Is there any part of you that needs some extra care, some extra love? Are you able to be inside your breath? All right, now let's work with the back a little bit. So swirl the pelvis around. Maybe imagine a tailbone paintbrush. So paintbrush on your tailbone and draw a circle on the wall behind you. So it's a little different than if we had a tailbone paintbrush on our belly button, which we will do in a moment. But first, just move the pelvis in some pelvic circles. So freeing up your back a little bit. Go the other direction. Find your breath. All right, and now imagine, reconnect. If you can always put fists on the ground, if your hands are not happy, wrists are not happy. Now let's find a paintbrush on our belly button, and we're going to paint a circle on the floor, on our mat. So your circle can be tiny and your circle can be large. Yield. So your circling is giving you the opportunity to find each limb yielding. And then move in the other direction. All right, and then settle the hips back toward the heels. Okay, come into child's pose. Just decide, how is your spine? Can you feel into any movement that wants to happen? Breathing deeply, and maybe even here you're yielding from one shin to another shin, from one hand to the other hand. So let there be mobility instead of stuckness. And maybe, stillness is not stuckness. So even if you're still, you can still feel very free. All right, let's walk the hands over to the left. Reach through the right sit bone, drop it down. Feel into the breath, come into that sense of space. Relax your neck as much as you can. If child's pose isn't working for you, you can always come higher with your hips off of your heels. Come the other direction and stretch here. Relax your neck. Where does tension creep in without you even knowing it? Does tension creep in the back door somewhere in your body? Find your back doors, seal them up. Try not, or don't seal them up, but release them. Let the tension go out instead of in. All right, and then let's come back up onto your hands and your knees. Curl your toes under and lift yourself into dog pose. So feel free to get your feet, get your sea legs. So feel into your feet, feel into your legs. Feel free to pedal, dropping one heel down, then the other. Kind of feel the zing through the backs of your legs. Coming into your breath. So dog pose, especially the first dog pose of the day, it's such a beautiful way of welcoming yourself home into your body. So explore all your little bits. Are you finding and saying hello and coming into a welcoming feeling with your whole body? Once you have a few breaths of that, let's feel into the yielding here. So maybe let's yield into right foot and right hand. Get a little bit more weighted and bend the knee and the elbow and then push off and yield into the other side. And, we don't have to just go left, right. Maybe you yield from right foot and then rebound to left hand, to right foot, to, wherever you want to go. You can just play around with your forelimbs and how they respond to weighting themselves into the earth, befriending gravity, and then reaching through gravity, kind of like you move through water when you dive in a pool, that sense of it being able to move through water, move through gravity. So yield into the earth and then move through gravity up into space without losing your connection. How is your breath? Relax something. All right, and then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Shake things out. You can shake your shoulders, shake your tail, shake your head. All right, and then come on up to stand. Okay, this is a little different way of experiencing yielding. So if you've not done this before, be very kind with yourself because there's, it's a little bit different of a movement. Turn sideways on your mat so that your feet, I like, some people do this with their feet really wide. It bothers my knees to have my feet really wide, so I come into a little bit more narrow of the stance, but still wider than my mat. Okay, like turn sideways, and we're just gonna first just weight into one foot and then weight into the other foot. Let your arms be free for a moment. And then I want you to imagine that your pelvis, we want to make like a figure eight. So the left half of your pelvis, we're going to move forward and then back and then move into the other. So kind of like you're moving in figure eights with your pelvis. One half kind of circles around and then joins that center point of the eight. And then, so it's kind of like a line down sideways eight in your pelvis. So let your knee bend. So this is coming into yielding. We're going to move over to the other half of your pelvis, drop into the bent knee, and rebound away. And then you can start adding arms if they feel natural to find their way into that figure eight movement. Don't worry, you can go fast, you can go super slow. You just find whatever's going to allow you. Remember, we're yielding, so we want to bend into the knee and rebound into the other knee. Let the body be free. And, if it doesn't feel free, it will. If you do this on the regular, it becomes ingrained in your body, entrained in your body. And it starts to feel good where your pelvis can receive the earth. So feel the bent knee and then push off that foot to go into the other side of your body. Okay, now we're going to move it slightly differently on the diagonal. So when you bend, if you're not sure, you can look at me for a minute. You can bend into your right knee, and then we're going to cross over with the arms into the opposite, bend into the left knee, cross over into the opposite. Anytime you're yielding, you have to drop down to rise up. It's like a diver on a diving board. They have to bend their knees to bounce off the board. Anytime you jump, you see somebody jumping for a basketball, you have to bend before you can push off. So we need to bend and then push off. Bend and then push off. Let the breath be here. Decide, do your feet and knees feel comfortable? Do you need to turn your toes out? Do you want them to be straight? Just make sure that you feel stable, that your joints feel stable, and that the movement all the way to your fingers comes from the push off of your foot, that we're yielding into the earth and all movements come from that ground. Dancers know this. So many athletes know how to use the earth to their advantage, and us yogis can do that too. All right, now come back. Neutral, feel into the weight of your legs, soft knees. And now we're going to do a slightly different movement. So we're going to turn this into, instead of lateral, we're going to turn it into rotational work. So you can start with one hand if you want, where you swing the arm back as you bend the knee. We're still doing that kind of figure eight with the pelvis. And then if you want, you can add the other arm too. So when you come forward, let the back of the hand guide. And when you bring your arm back, let the back of the hand guide. So we're turning our hands too. And let your torso move with this. Don't forget, so we're not just, flopping around, right? It's yielding, we're grounding, we're getting into the earth with that bent knee and then pushing off that bent knee and feeling it flow all the way through to your crown. Feel free to turn your head with this movement. If you get dizzy, you can do less. You can move fast. You can move slow. Notice your breathing. And you might think, what are we doing? I want to do yoga. Trust me, this will help you get your yielding down. So I know I've talked to some of you about yielding, and you're like, I think I'm just starting to get it. And when you do, it's really a beautiful thing. So all the little ways we can come into that. So now is a good thing. So come into Tadasana, okay? And just notice how you feel. Bend knees within the straight knees. So soften your knees so that you can receive the earth. All right, we're going to come up onto our toes and back onto our heels. The balance points on our feet. Inhale, reach your arms up, open the chest. Is yielding living here, or did you just pull your arms out of your sockets? Can the reach of the arms come from the legs? So even try here, a little bending of the knees to rise up through the arms. Connect your feet to your hands. And then your next exhale, bend your knees and float forward. Shake, rattle, whatever feels good. You can bounce, you can move. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine is growing tall and long. Exhale and melt back down. Step your left foot back. Your right foot comes forward to a lunge. Yield your feet. Ground them into the earth. When you're ready, you can straighten the front leg a little bit. I like blocks for this. I don't know about you, but I like the height. It helps me keep my back in a neutral place. Okay, so squaring the hips the whole way. You don't have to have your leg come all the way straight. Straighten it to whatever level your back can tolerate. Okay, so if you are very rounded in your back, this puts a lot of pressure on your spine. So try to stay as neutral through the spine as you can. All right, let's come into a lunge now. Rise up, bring the arms wherever you're going to go. They do not have to be up. They can be in a different plane. Wherever your arms ended up, can you feel, just like we were doing before, can you ground into the feet? Can you drop into gravity, into the earth, give yourself to the earth, and then feel the rebound of wherever you're putting your arms come, not from just yanking from your shoulders, but reaching from your feet, from the push off of the earth in your feet. Extend your body up, relax your neck. Can you feel that you're both tethered to the earth and growing? Be like a tree, deep roots, tall branches. Exhale and release the hands. Come back with your back foot. Come forward into Uttanasana again. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine is growing longer and taller. Exhale and melt back down again. Let's step your other foot back. Come into a lunge on this side. The left foot is now forward. Enjoy, get yourself steady, and then start moving with breath. Don't forget about your breath. Remember that your breath is connected to yielding big time. The more we yield, the more we free up the opportunity to feel breathing happen. The more we breathe well, the more we free up yielding to happen. Back and forth. Try to have the perfect amount of tone in your body. Not the amount necessary, and let's try to be efficient. So we're not trying to dispense all of our energy. Ground your feet. Feel yourself rise up from that groundedness of your feet. Can you feel the support? You are supported, you are of the earth. Feel that connection and start trying to pull yourself and yank yourself off the earth. Give yourself to and rebound. So it's yield, push, reach. Think those words, yield, push, and reach. Can you make the connections from your feet to wherever your hands ended up? To the crown. Feel the space in your body, the breath in your body. Where those back door where tension creeps in, can you feel the tension release? All right, relax the hands down, come back to dog pose, extending through the spine. Feel into the ground. Once more, we can feel ourselves find any of your four limbs yielding. The knee and the elbows are a little soft to receive. Maybe you want to do some swirls with your hips like we were just doing when we were standing. Some figure eights or any kind of natural movement impulse that's coming through your body. Okay, let's come forward. Bend your knees first. Bend so that you have something to push off of, and then come forward into a plank. Feel that sense of stability. In a pose like this, we tend to get hard. We tend to get grippy. And of course we need strength. Let's see if there's that ability to have a little knee within the straight knee, a little softness in your diaphragm. See if you can seek those places where yielding still is happening. All right, put your knees down, come down to the ground. Roll your shoulders a few times, just get some mobility, loosening up. And then inhale, rise up to Cobra Pose, open the chest. Exhale, and melt back down. Let's do twice more. Feel yourself come up with breath. Feel yourself come down with breath. Last one, maybe you want to hover your hands and really feel into the strength of the back of your body. Is there still breath available? Exhale and melt back down. Come up onto all fours. Move the spine around. Are you starting to feel better in your body, or are you getting a little bit more free? Let's sway your hips. And then we're going to pick up the feet and move the feet. You know, if you need a little extra padding underneath your knees to do this, by all means, you can put some extra padding. We're just going to sway our feet left and right and turn and look out over that foot. Turn and look out over the other foot. Just let the back get a little free. All right, back to child's pose you go. Settle the hips toward the heels. Find your breathing in. Find your breathing out. And when you're ready, climb up to dog pose. Practice the art of yielding again. When you get here, how is your breath? Are you able to stay grounded and have the yield, push, and reach? Experiment. Do you want to yield both hands into the ground? Bend the elbows a little bit and then push and reach your heart toward the pelvis. Do you lose the yield as you find the reach? Can you simultaneously have both actions happening? How is your breath? Do the same with your feet. Bend your knees. Ground your feet, yield, and then push and reach into the sit bones. And then maybe do both at the same time, hands and feet, yield, push, and reach. Breathe your way here, relax your neck. All right, and let's go ahead and either walk forward and to stand up and then turn sideways, or bring your right foot forward and come up into a lunge. For some people, you know, that swing through is really difficult. So however you like to get up, this is great. Our wide-legged stance. Open the arms out to the sides. And I know I think all of you have done this with me before. It's a little different than, you know, the movement that we just did with our pelvis, okay? Now we're going to go a little deeper and come into, you know, kind of like a squat lunge here. And then we're going to come up and come to the other side. Now, depending on your knees, this may be right here. You know, your safe place might be very shallow in this back and forth movement, and that's okay. And then, you know, if your hips and knees are feeling really good, you may be super low, okay? So just get into the range of motion that you're available to have, going back and forth, side to side. And then we're going to settle ourselves in a low, wide squat. Hips are staying in line with knees, not lower. Take your elbows inside your knees and push them out. Ground your feet. So if your knees are bothering you, you might be up here. That's fine. Be where you are. Breathe where you are. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Spread out the bones of the feet. Yield, push, and reach from crown to tail. Let your knees open up those inner thighs a little bit. And then rise all the way up. Arms can float up if you want them to. Find the breath. If you get dizzy, hands to each other, squeeze, chin tucks. All right, let's turn out to the side for Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Hopefully our hips are nice and warm from all the movement that we've done. And, as all things, we want to yield, push, and reach. So where is that in your body? If you start your pose, so back up for a minute and start your pose, this is how I was originally taught. Straighten your legs, straighten your arms, reach into space. Okay? Keep everything straight, 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 and then bend, and keep the back knee straight, straight. So when I started practicing that way, my breath would just go away. I wouldn't have a breath. And I could never figure out, how do you breathe and do this at the same time? Until I figured out that I don't need to lock and push. So that would be a push, push, propping in the body. So lose that, especially if you lose your breath, and drop something. Drop the shoulders, just bend the knees ever so slightly. Feel yourself ground. And does it feel good to ground? Let yourself be received by the earth. And this is very different than collapsing, than sagging, than sinking. So as always, we want the balance point between the into this pose. Once you're here, can you rebound from your front foot into the back leg? Are you even weighted? Is your back knee soft enough? Maybe even bend it a little bit so you can yield into that back foot and push off of it into the front foot. It's okay to have a little, back and forthness and a little bend in that back knee to get you there. And then eventually we can find a straight leg, but a bent knee within the straight leg. Find your breath. Same with your shoulders. Are they pulled up to your ears? Is there something different you need to do to have the sense that you are receiving from the ground into your hands, from your feet into your chest to your hands? Can you feel grounded in this posture? All right, let's rise up. Turn your feet the other way and try, just for the sake of knowing the extreme, prop, okay? Stretch your arms out, lift your chest, straighten your legs, lift your crown, okay? So notice if there's any room in your body here. Can you even breathe? I know that I have trouble breathing when I'm that way. So soften something, relax, find your yielding, and then come into the push and reach instead of this prop, prop. Prop is like push, push instead of yield, push. Let's go ahead and find our posture. If at any point you feel that you need to place your arms in a different position, that's fine too. There's a difference between muscular support and stability and propping yourself up. Okay, so if your shoulders are dangling like earrings off of your ears and they're not supported from below, make a different choice with your arms until you feel the support from below on up through your body. Maybe try bending that back knee a little bit so that you can push off the back foot and come into that Virabhadrasana in a slightly different way. Even weight through your feet. As you straighten that leg, remember there's a bent knee within the straight leg. Breathe here, ground, yield, push, and reach. Reach through your crown, but don't let it lose the connection from the feet. Try not to segment and isolate your body. Feel the unity. All right, let's go ahead and relax. Shrug your shoulders up. Turn your feet to the long edge. Let's come into Parsva on the other side. So right foot turns out and place your elbow on your knee or your hand on the block. Now, same thing. If you're always reaching and no yielding, there's going to be something lost. So yield first and then push to reach. Same thing, maybe your back knee wants to bend weight bearing in the back foot, weight bearing in the front foot, feeling that traverse across the pelvis so that when you get into both legs, you have evenness, even weight in your feet and an even sensation across your pelvis. Reach into your crown, reach into your hand without losing the connection to the earth. All right, and rise back up. How's your breath? Okay, find your breath now for a moment. If you lost it, see if you can take it with you on this side. Breathe well. Come down, elbow on your knee. Maybe you want to bend the knee and kind of bounce back, not bounce, but yield and push back and forth between the two sides. And eventually you can have a straight leg with that back leg with a little softness embedded in it. And you can feel the yield even through a straight leg. It doesn't have to always be bent. Reach through your crown. So can you yield through your back foot and feel it all the way through your crown? Find the breath. Place your arm wherever you want it to be. So of course you're using muscular strength, but we're not gripping through the pose. Find connection, support from below. All right, come back up. Okay, turn your feet to the long edge again. This time come down, hands on ground or hands on blocks, you decide. And once again, we're coming into one leg, bend the knee, drop into the other, push off, just back and forth. So instead of just being mindless, where you're just bouncing from one side to the other, bend the knee, yield into the earth, push off, traverse the pelvis over to the other side. You know, when you're standing, if you've gone on an airplane at DIA and you get on the train to go to the terminal, you don't stand with your knees locked out and really close together. Chances are you widen your stance and you bend your knees a little bit, or at least have them loose and free to be able to receive the impact of unsteadiness. Okay, let's rise up. Turn yourself back to the front of your mat and come into dog pose. So this sense of readiness where we have the capacity to feel the earth and to feel our knees and our elbows bend. This is that sense of readiness that you have on the train. Like any movement's possible. If you were, there's a technique called Wakame, which is Philip Shepard developed this. It's a type of seaweed, right? And you do it with a partner, and your body has to receive from that. And if we were together, I would have you do that with each other. So imagine that, an impact can come from any different direction. What if somebody kind of gently pushed your left hip to the right? How would you receive that with your right hand and right foot on the ground? And same, if someone came to push your left hip to the right, how would you receive that? How's your breath? Let's come forward into a plank. Hold yourself steady. Find a little ease, a little softness, a little yield. And then come down onto your belly. Back bend of your choice. What are you in the mood for right now? What's your body asking for? And exhale and melt back down. Put your head on your hands for a moment. Breathe into the earth. Here we are with a whole lot of surface area again. Can you breathe into all the places you're touching? Can you yield into all the places you're touching? All right, come back up when you're ready, onto all fours, finding the breath. Swirl the spine around, find some yielding again. Now we're going to come up, find dog pose. Breath here, breath out. And then walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Okay, we're going to rise up to stand. Trace down through the center. Pause here for a moment. Okay, and then find Tadasana. You know, Tadasana, we often think of it's just like the waiting pose before we go somewhere else. Let it be a pose in and of itself. Yield into the earth. As you come onto your toes, what changes in your core? Can you still have soft knees? Are you still available for any movement potential? And come rocking back onto your heels. Are you available for any movement potential? All right, and then steady yourself into Tadasana again. Take a deep breath. Ground into your right foot. We're going to pick our left knee up. Feel the sense of openness. Reach the arms out. Rise up. Cross your thigh, your left thigh over your right thigh. First, just reach your arms. And then when you're ready, your right arm's going to go over your left. Eagle pose. Squish into yourself. Squeeze a little bit. Find your midline. Give a good squeeze, a good hug. How's your breath? And then unwind and stretch your little hands down. Find your breath. Ground into your left foot. Inhale, lift your right knee up. When you're ready, cross the right leg over the left. Start to squat. When you're ready, left arm crosses over right arm. Stay in your squat. Squeeze to the midline. Keep breathing. When you squeeze, are you able to yield? Drop into that foot. Rebound through your crown. Unwind. Reach and extend. Exhale and relax your shoulders. Tadasana one more time. Find your breath. Open the chest. Exhale. Bend your knees and relax. Wag your tail. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Let's come onto our back. And finding your breath. One more time, lots of surface area in the body. All right, bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit. Okay. Breathing well. Okay, stretch your legs straight. It's not Shavasana time. We're about to do a supported back bend, but first just feel the sense of support that the earth can support you. Now check in with your body. Are you okay if you think about going into a supported back bend right now? Does that feel appealing to you? Because I'll give you a couple of choices. So first you can grab your blocks and we're going to do heart bench. So one block underneath your head. And I like, lately I've been using this. It's kind of like it's a little meditation cushion, but it's the perfect size for me to put in between my shoulder blades, and it's a little more comfortable for me. So I've been doing this back bend like this, but if you have a block, you can do classic heart bench with one block in between the shoulder blades, either long ways on your spine or crossways, depending on what feels comfortable. And then the other block can be a notch higher or the same height. Find your breath. If you're not happy here, if this is like, oh, it's a little too much, then maybe try bridge pose with the block under your pelvis. So there's always choices for how to be. If you're going to be in heart bench, decide how you want your legs to be. You can have your feet on the floor, legs close or wide. You can take your feet into Supta Baddha Konasana. There's so many choices. So allow yourself to be where is comfortable for you. So see if you can give yourself over to the sense of you. So here we are in a Body opening posture, heart opening, pelvis opening if you're in bridge pose. But either way, we're extending the spine a little bit. Can you enjoy the ease of your breath? Can you yield? Is there a way for you to drop into the earth instead of pulling away? How are you breathing? You could stay here for as long as you want. So if you're super happy and you need more of this, by all means, stay right where you are. And if you are ready to make a transition, you can go ahead and come out of there. And we're going to come to lie flat on our back, release a little bit of that back bend. Once again, open up the surface area of the back body to yield. Find a breath. And then as you're ready, feet are bend, our knees are bending, feet are on the floor. Let's lift the hips and scooch them to the right. Bring knees up and drop them to the left. Finding a simple twist. Is there a way for you to yield in this posture? Can you rest your neck? Is your breath coming in deeply? And inhale, lift your knees back up. Scoot your hips over to the left. Knees come up and drop right. And find your head turning. Deep breaths. Rest your body. Melt your skull. And then inhale and bring your knees back up. Reverse pigeon pose. Right foot on top of left knee. Of course, you can put your left foot on the wall or a piece of furniture, or you can grab onto your left thigh or the back of your thigh or the front of your left shin. Relax your shoulders as best as you can. So yes, we're stretching the hip, but we're trying to stay relaxed in the spine. So melt, feel that surface area below you, give into the surface area. Try to keep the hips even. So if you tend to hike one hip up, see if you can keep some balance. All right, and then relax. Spread your limbs out. And then put your left foot on top of your right knee. And then decide how deep. Now, if you can't go as deep as pulling your foot in, you can always put your foot on a block too. This will just lift a little bit deeper. You can put your foot on 2 blocks. There's your foot on a wall. There's all sorts of ways of supporting yourself in this posture so that the pose is comfortable for your body. Breathing well. Wide sit bones. Feel the surface area that you're touching the ground and melt in. All right, relax that. Come back into happy baby pose one more time and feel free to rock left and right. Feel the 2 halves of your pelvis. One side drops down, then the other side. Now a little bit extra movement in here if it's comfortable. If you're holding onto your feet, when you rock left, straighten your left leg out some or all the way, and then back to bending. When you rock right, straighten your right leg out all the way or some of the way, whatever works for your body. Okay, we're rocking to and fro. All right, now see what it feels like to hold 2 sides open. So you can hook, if you're flexible enough, you can hook 2 fingers around your big toes and stretch open. That's a very big stretch. So to back away from that, you can hold the inner legs from above or below, anywhere that you want to hold them. Okay. So feel into the stretch of your inner thighs, lengthen the spine. Keep the spine very neutral. Try not to round and push your back into the ground. All right, release. Bring your knees to your chest and rock. One last simple stretch. Roll over onto your right side. Grab onto your left ankle and stretch your left quad. Just come try and get the legs to ease before Shavasana. And draw that in. Come rolling over onto the other side. Use the opportunity of you being on the ground. You can always support underneath your head with a pillow or a block. Use the opportunity to be being on the ground to feel the surface area of your body touching and yield in. All right, and then relax and come out of there, and we're going to lie down for Shavasana. Okay, so hopefully a lot of this supine work that we did at the end has helped your nervous system, begin Shavasana before we even got here. So hopefully you feel at ease. Let your shoulders soften into the earth. See what it feels like to have your limbs get as heavy as they want. Experiment with having your arms and legs closer or further from the midline. See what feels. Begin to deepen your breathing again. Feel gravity. Surrender to it. Feel connected to the earth. How surely gravity's law, strong as an ocean current, takes hold of even the strongest thing and pulls it toward the heart of the world. Each thing, each stone, blossom, child is held in place. Only we, in our arrogance, push out beyond what we belong to for some empty freedom. If we surrendered to Earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees. Instead, we entangle ourselves in knots of our own making and struggle, lonely and confused. So, like children, we begin again to learn from the things because they are in God's heart. They have never left Him. This is what the things can teach us: to fall patiently, to trust our heaviness. Even a bird has to do that before he can fly. Let's go ahead and find movement. Coming eventually onto your side. Come up comfortably to sit. One more time, feel the grounding, the rising, and offer this sense of grounding and rising to another. So share your heart, your energy with someone who needs your love, your care. Namaste.